Ladies and gentlemen, what is it?
It's the Outlaw.
Yes, it is. Let's talk about something real quick. Let's talk about the subject of today's stream, Leadhead. Leadhead is a gaming commentary video essayist. They've started to kind of transition the way they do gaming commentary videos into kind of tied into the transition. They are a trans creator. I will put this off on the bat. I have watched a lot of their videos in the last day. The way they write is very fucking good. Because I know sometimes that the streams that are about them have come to their community. You'll write very well, Penny. I'm just letting you know. That's her name. It's on her profile. Leadhead has come under some interesting buzz. They've recently come under fire for creating a specific video, and we'll go over it. It's called Mom Deserves a Video Essay. This is a trans creator who discussed adopting two trans adults, both allegedly 19 and 20. But she's known them for a period of time. She's probably known them for over a year. We'll get to how we kind of can figure that out. So she's known them since they were 18 and 19. And there's a lot of weird things, a lot of weird context that goes into this. A lot of fetishization of the family dynamic to a degree that is very clearly ties into a potential kink that they may have. It also ties into like their own persona, the way they identify themselves, the way they relate to other trans individuals. This is something that's really curious. This person writes extremely well.
I think it's purple prosy and pseudo-intellectual, and they try to sound smarter than they actually are. I already hate it. I already hate it.
When I was a little kid, one of the children's books that my mom kept around for me was The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. I remember liking the illustrations, and I was a big fan of exploring the woods and climbing the trees around my neighborhood, so I really gravitated towards the book. It's a pretty contentious little poem about a tree that gives and gives and gives until until eventually she has nothing left to give.
So already right now, we're getting very interesting vibes. Balji, by the way, this is technically theft because the books are crazy about copyright. You know, I didn't think about that. They literally read the book, show the entire book. That's insane. I didn't think about that.
Didn't think much of it when I was a little kid, but rereading it as an adult, I'm forced to wonder why my mom gravitated towards that book in particular.
Child's book.
Yeah.
Would you believe me if I said that my fiance and I had a 19 and a 20-year-old pair of kids?
No!
They're not kids!
No!
They're not kids!
They're adults.
They're not children. Okay, we're going to listen a little bit further to what they say, and we're going to get there. So, 19 and 20-year-old children, let's listen more.
Well, it's complicated, seeing as I'm only 26, but we do.
So she's only 26. I will let you know right now the partner is 22. So
yeah, they're real good. They're real good model parents.
So
we're 20-year-olds.
We have a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 22-year-old, and a 26-year-old.
26-year-old.
And these are adults. Now, I'm not trans. I have trans friends. I've worked with trans youth and adults in the past, just working in the mental health care field. Fucking shocker sometimes that you work with queer people that are maligned by society. Fucking shocker. In this person's mind, from what I can already get right now, it is very much where they like the age of their transition or understanding is when they were quote unquote born. It's just a very strange concept because these people are still adults. If I work with somebody who is like much younger than me that I have to teach them something to, I don't treat them like fucking children. There are some reasons for adult adoptions. The law gives rights to families that would take a lot of paperwork to implement, so it can be easier to adopt them. Yes. And
there's a caveat to why
there's a lot of caveats here.
None of that legality happens here.
For the past couple of months, found family has been a pretty prevalent theme in my videos. This idea of people I've met and become friends with taking on the role of family.
So let me discuss something. We're gonna talk about this real quick. Leadhead put together what they called the honesty arc of their videos. As they transitioned from a lot of their gaming videos into discussing things about their trans experience and their upbringing, as well as their adolescence and just reconnecting with video games, a lot of their personal life came in, and there's about 5 or 6 videos that include this whole type of honesty arc.
Typically, though, it takes the form of a friend group who you love as if they were a family. Good times, bad times, sickness and health, depressed phases, financial distress, car troubles, drama, it doesn't matter. Most people who find themselves in relationships like these are trying to make up for the dysfunctional families that they grew up in. And so whatever happens to a found family member, however they grow and change, found families are supposed to stick together and support each other no matter what. And
all right, so let's
You
talk
know what
about
they
that
don't do? They don't adopt 20-year-olds.
Found Family is doing a lot of heavy lifting in this.
It's doing all the lifting.
It's doing all the lifting. I'm not a trans person. This is legitimately just the way that I understand it from my own perspective, as well as the ability for me to understand it. But when someone is being guided by an older trans individual,
Yes.
the way I liken it to is a sponsor in AA. This is someone who you look to guidance towards because you're either struggling, they've been through very similar experiences, they're helping you go through these things, you trust them when sometimes you can't even trust yourself. It is not a parental role. They are not a person that supersedes not only your intelligence, but your way of thinking entirely. You have to be your own person. You know anything about 12-step programs. I've always said this. I worked in addictions medicine for approximately 5 years of my life. It's something I always talk about. It's where I learned therapy techniques, things like that, and modalities. But the reason I do say that is because that's very important to the way I understand it. This is not that.
the same way that they wish their biological families had been capable of. At least, that's how sacredly I view the found family dynamic. Though it's worth clarifying that trauma is not a prerequisite to having a found family, a lot of the time it can be a pretty big motivating factor in seeking that sort of dynamic in your adulthood. While I think it's pretty uncommon for specific familial roles like mom, grandpa, or uncle to be established within a found family,
Just want to also point out, this panel is all gay. Hello, I'm gay. Q gay. I don't know if Ash is gay.
I'm more ace leaning, but
Ace leaning.
I
Thank
don't
you.
I don't discriminate.
This is the aside that I will tell you. We all be gay. Everyone has looked at this. No one has liked this.
And to piggyback off this, everything that we're probably going to say, it's probably not going to be kind
Oh yeah.
at all, but it has nothing to do with the individuals being trans. It has everything to do with them being just fucking weird.
This has nothing to do with them being trans. I know that probably they may make it about it. It's not.
This was all straight people, I'd still be saying the exact same shit I'm
Yes.
saying now.
I was just about to say, if this was all straighties, I'd be like, they're fucking weird and they need to go somewhere special.
one day my fiance and I, along with the two youngest in the household, were
I hate
going
that
to
they
the
say
grocery store
youngest.
to pick up what we
I
would need for
call them.
dinner.
I hate it. I hate that they call them the
youngest,
youngest.
18 and 19.
It's they're just no, they're 19 and 20. Remember, 19 and 20.
19, 20, sorry.
At this point, they are 19 and 20. Please do not infantilize adults. You can do your own age gap fucking relationship shit all day with adults. I'm not gonna. The fucking sometimes an 18-year-old dating a fucking 56-year-old, maybe a little bit weird sometimes. You can't do that when it's like there's literally like 3 to 4 years difference between you guys. It's weird.
A pretty bad mood, but these two were just running around all full of energy, grabbing all the snacks and candy
Again,
that they
describing
could carry
them
to
as
the
children.
register. They got so distracted that they
yes.
even lost track of us and had to look all around the grocery store to find us again. Once they
Do they
finally
really
did,
do
the
that?
youngest,
Do they really
this
fucking do
19-year-old
that?
boy,
Editorializing
called us
them as
mom
kids.
and mom. That little
Don't call them mom and mom. Don't do it. Don't do it. I get it, but
They're
don't do it.
20s, they're not in their 30s.
little joke bolstered by the obvious aesthetic similarities of two kids running amok while the fiance and I spent upwards of $50 to feed them and the rest of the family for the night felt different to me. Never in my life have I been called mother to someone unless there was some sort of sexual connotation.
Why? Why would you put that in? Why would you put that in the video? I've never been called mommy unless somebody was having sex with me. And do you want to know what? This comes up multiple fucking times. Side note: trans people in our community, this is not reflective of you. Trans person watching this video, this is not reflective of you. Wanted to make that very clear.
Being in a crappy mood, but going out of our way to take care of these
Again,
two innocent people, it felt like
Innocent,
something
okay.
new that my fiance and I could bond over.
Okay.
Something we hadn't experienced together before.
Ah!
If we're a family and her and I are the oldest and these two are the youngest, then yeah, I guess we're moms together. It's a cute thing to be able to say about my girlfriend and I. Mind you, this was before I ever proposed to her, so it was a little bit of a step for us, honestly. Well, as the weeks went on, our boy was calling us mom and mom more often. It got to the point where he felt like he was
Mom
being
and mom.
disrespectful when he called us by our actual names, and now it's weird when I do hear him say them. I don't think I've actually heard him say penny in months. Next thing I know, we're giving him all sorts of advice and making sure he doesn't stay up too late when he has work the next day, making sure he eats enough, teaching him all sorts of life lessons about being trans, as he'd only transitioned about a month prior to all of this, and even going into some sexual education stuff when necessary.
Sex education? She's about to say it.
Homeschooling has completely
Homeschooled.
robbed him of all sorts of information about
How
how
to
his
take
body
that,
works. It's honestly scary.
It's right.
So, that sexual education thing, that really sounds like innuendo, right? Well, I'll be the first to say that when I first met him, I thought we were just going to be friends with benefits or something.
How does your... There! Stop the video! We're 4 minutes and 9 seconds in! I thought that this person was gonna be a friends
so
with
much over.
benefits.
After all, my fiance and I are in an open relationship.
Open
It
relationship!
definitely wasn't off the table as an option. But as time went on and he came
It was on the table. Now, hi, it's Falgi time. I'm in an open relationship. No, that's not how that
polyarmy.
works. You don't just go from I'm attracted to you to child. That is not how that fucking works.
that motivation in him and I's relationship pretty quickly vanished from my mind. Suddenly, I
just fade it up a
completely
little
stopped
bit.
caring about how I looked around him. I just dressed for comfort exactly as I would if I were home alone. He really did see us as his
Dress for comfort if I was home alone is an insane statement. What do you mean?
Implies.
Implies
What are you
what?
As your
implying?
child.
What
Like,
is
why
that?
would your child care if you look sexy or not?
mothers, and we, with a little bit of time, started to see him as our son. He wasn't just a friend, he was like, well, he was my boy. That's the crazy thing for me. In every relationship I've ever had, I was either focused on being a good partner or being a good friend. And in almost every friendship I've had since my later teens, the possibility of fostering a sexual dynamic has always been floating around somewhere in my mind. This young man, though, he only showed me a new type of love. One that I've never felt before. I've loved as a friend and I've loved as a romantic partner, but I'd never loved as a mother before. I've never been in a position where I feel like I'm willing to damage a friendship with somebody for the sake of helping them grow as a person. But that's where I am with him.
Are they
A lot of the
friends?
time,
Are
I'm not
they
his
your
friend. I'm his
child?
mother,
Are
and he
they
needs
your
to stop getting in
roommate?
fights with his sister.
Pick one.
Are they my
Pick
friend,
one.
my child, my roommate? Here's something crazy. You shouldn't have to worry about damaging a friendship to tell them how to do something. Friends can just also do that.
And never steal one of my cigarettes again because he's too young and handsome to be doing that to his body.
He's too young and handsome to be doing that to his body. I found him attractive, and now he's my adult child.
He's only 6 years younger than
Chat,
me.
we found them. We found the adult minors. We literally found the adult minors. We had to just go all the way to wherever the fuck middle America these people are.
This is kind of where I started to enter a personally turbulent phase in this whole relationship. There were just so many different fears in my head. Was I taking this too seriously? Was I diminishing his agency as an adult and infantilizing him? Did he just start leaning into the mom thing as a lighthearted goof, but now I felt like he was in too deep for all of this to back out?
Yes.
Was I in the wrong for having such a deep emotional stake in him seeing himself as my son?
Yes.
Stop now.
Yep.
Well, that layer of fear diminished with time.
Why?
Things like me
Why?
fixing up his car
Why?
for him and giving him rides to work while his car was still out of commission.
Why?
Teaching him how to replace a flat tire, or my fiance and I letting him share a bed with us when he was too anxious to sleep alone, or taking him out on car rides to try and talk to him and give him life lessons that his biological parents and youth group upbringing completely failed to give him. And the way he started to trust us in different ways than he trusts the other people in the house.
Remember, there's other people in the
Sure.
house because
How big is that bed?
A 26, a 22-year-old, and a 19-year-old share a bed. Isn't that crazy? And it's weird. The 26-year-old used to be attracted to the 19-year-old.
All of it helped to dissuade those initial fears, and those fears were finally killed off when one day, in the name of the full disclosure I preached so hard in my video 2 videos ago, I had a candid conversation about those fears with him, and he told me that he did legitimately see my fiance and I as his mothers, and that he felt
The honesty video is going to turn this entire thing on its fucking head. I'm telling you this right now.
more at home here than he ever did with his biological parents because of the maternal love that we'd been pouring into him. So
Maternal love.
I had all of those fears that I was just overreaching whenever I'd adjust my rearview mirror so I could keep an eye on him in my back seat, but those fears eventually subsided, and
Why?
I got comfortable with the fact that we were his mothers, and that was an
They're
immutable
adults.
fact of our dynamic. However, that's when a whole
No,
new set
not
of
to
fears
her.
clicked into place. Oh, Jesus Christ, I'm 26 years old, and considering I only transitioned at the age of 22, I'm basically just a 4-year-old trying to raise a kid.
Age play.
You
Why
wrote this
would you
script.
say that?
You wrote this script. Why would you do it that way? Why would you say it that way? You're constantly talking about age. Why would you write it that way? So this was another thing too that I don't like about this. I know that this is sometimes brought up specifically in trans spaces and in queer spaces, age of figuring out who you are. That doesn't just delete everything you've already learned. It's just understanding who you've always been, who you've always meant to be. This is the thing about a trans identity that's like super important for people to understand who have ever worked and advocate for the LGBTQ community. It is not a, oh my God, the egg cracked. I'm now like a fucking like 1-year-old. It's, I am X age that I figured out that, hey, the reason I don't feel comfortable in my body is because I don't identify with the gender I was born with. And it's me navigating that. You don't just lose fucking math skills because you're trans one day. For like a lot of transitional surgeries and things like that, you do go through a lot of therapy. It's required because not only do they gotta confirm that you get it, but it's one of those things where it's like you have to like really like resolve what's inside of you. Yes, you have to understand that you are losing a part of yourself that you used to identify with while also gaining a new part of yourself.
With the found family member he calls his sister getting more and more comfortable with seeing us as her mothers too, albeit
So this was an interesting thing too. Now the other person who is transitioning, who felt uncomfortable by the mom and mom jokes, is now becoming comfortable with said mom and mom jokes. Interesting.
at a slower pace. We're not even halfway through our 20s, and we're trying to take care of 2 kids who are nearly old enough to buy alcohol on their own.
They're not kids.
They're not
the
kids, they're adults! You hear
Time
it.
to talk about my mom for a little bit. While obviously I'm dramatizing a little, a quick way to communicate the finer details of my upbringing would be to say that a lot of the time, giving my mom the illusion of a happy Christmas card family was much more important than communicating the things that were really going through our minds. If someone says something even the least bit unconventional, like, I think I'll skip breakfast today and just eat a huge lunch, she gives me this look equivalent to spinning her fingers around and calling them cuckoo.
Again, editorializing.
Look equivalent. Look equivalent. Is that actually what she's doing, or is this just in your own fucking head?
Again, this is editorializing. Let's be real. That's just how it is.
That base level of normalcy enforcement cascades further and further the deeper you look
Don't
into
have
its
anything to
nuances,
drink.
until we get to the point where, even as an adult, there are times where it feels like I'm being rude for thanking her for Christmas gifts as opposed to Santa, and where I can't marry a girl from Detroit without being constantly asked if I feel safe.
What? What? Those
That's
are two
weird.
weird lines of logic.
That's a bit racist.
I get it. Your mom is probably racist, but what?
My biological family, one full of queers, pornographers, addicts, and pushers,
Queers, pornographers, addicts, and pushers. That's an entirely crazy sentence, but wait for it.
has had to seriously bend reality over the years in order to preserve the illusion that any of us give a f about traditionalist values. It's not like we keep all of these divergent personality traits of ours a secret from her, but we grew up in a house where you were expected to be neighborly to somebody who sexually assaulted you.
What?
What?
What? What do you mean? Do you have to be neighborly to someone who said, like, listen, I understand that shit happens, but what are you not saying?
Just because they live next door. It's better to just ignore who your family is, because what matters more than the people are the postcards.
I hate how good that line is. That's a common saying in the South, by the way. It's not even original.
Oh.
I didn't know that.
Until around the time of my most
Kentucky.
recent birthday, when I was first getting deep into this new experience of motherhood. The kids were both having a pretty horrible day on my birthday.
What?
I'm talking panic attacks. However, I've always liked making the people I care about watch a movie of my choosing on my birthday, and all of the love and all the lack of traditionalism in this family had my
There
eyes
the
set on the
leaves.
Royal Tenenbaums. I figured it'd be a cute movie that everybody in the house could relate to in one
Okay.
way or the other. I
Good
highly
movie.
recommend it if you haven't seen it. Well, it didn't go over super well.
Just one of her
We wound up
kids
having to
just
stop the movie
throwing
about
leaves
halfway
in
through
front of
and
the
have a big
camera.
talk with the kids about why everything was going to be all right and why they'll live to see that day. Talks like that
Why?
come up a lot in this house, but my
It seems like everyone there needs therapy. I wonder what she's about to say.
Yeah.
fiance and I work through it with everybody bit by bit. And to be honest, we are making great progress in our training to be
Oh,
impromptu
yeah,
therapists.
no.
Oh,
stop,
she's
stop.
giving them therapy. Oh,
Yes.
that's a see.
The Royal Tenenbaums is a movie about familial trauma and like
Yeah.
intergenerational suicide, intergenerational like issues. It's about broken families.
It's kind of just our mutual calling in life. However, on this particular night, it was my birthday, and all I wanted was to be
Yeah, you can watch
surrounded by a
Rango on
happy,
your
loving
birthday.
family.
Rango.
All I wanted was to feel like these people were as wholly devoted to keeping the family together as I was. Seeing them so on edge being around each other just broke my heart. Of course, I didn't say any of this. I insisted that we stop the movie and go outside to talk through things the second I saw tears, but God, that night, I understood it. I understood my mom for the first time. I understood how somebody
You know,
could
you
reach this
fe- I
point of
feel
caring
like-
about the sensation of a happy family more than the
Go
actual
on.
engaging with.
Feels like she purposely showed that movie
Yeah.
as a way to inflict emotional terrorism
Yeah.
Yeah.
on her own because she knew what the reaction was going to be.
Reality that we all had some pretty deep-seated mental health issues. That night, it became my #1 goal to not let myself be corrupted in the same way. I would never let myself put family fun time over the family's mental health, no matter how badly I felt like just 5 minutes of family fun time would completely
But you
turn
did.
my mood
Royal
around.
Tenenbaums.
You
family
did by
fun time.
showing a movie about trauma, about family trauma. What's one of the biggest traumas that queer people have? Could it be not being accepted by their families? Are you stupid?
The Giving Tree, that poem I mentioned in the beginning, is about a tree who loves a boy like her own son. And over the boy's life, she gives and gives and gives, compromising her body, her happiness, and her very self to this boy who endlessly asks her for more, until she's nothing but a stump for him to sit on as he waits to die. The book insists that the tree is happy over and over and over again, until eventually it's stated outright that she wasn't really happy. The cynic in me finds it
Okay.
really easy to imagine that my mom simply tuned out that one line, but not really, and engaged with the book as a thank you to all the mothers in the world who so
For some interpretations, it's about environmentalism because it's taking from Mother Earth. A lot of times, it's about the kind of dangers of selflessness and unconditional love. Or even at the end, it's just about the understanding of unconditional love. Motherhood is not about traditionalism. This is a weird
Or a
thing,
feeling.
or a feel like, but not even just that. Being a parent is not a traditional value. The stress to become parents is often a traditionalist value, but being a parent is not a traditional value. Sacrificing for your children, it's not a traditional value. Why? Because they don't know any better. You're literally flying in the face of understanding child psychology and understanding parental roles in child psychology.
We forget people just assume they know everything, even though they
Yes.
haven't gone to school for it or studied it in actual academic spaces. They go like, "Oh, I Googled this for a little bit and I talked to one person, so I know everything."
Yeah. This right here is the problem because it's filled with self-righteous and know-it-allism when you are 26 and you do not, like, you're not an expert in this. You are a trans individual. It doesn't make you an expert. It means that you are somewhat of you understand the subject matter, but it doesn't make you an expert, and that's okay. It's okay to not be an expert in that either. I'm not. I would never claim to be that. This is just very bizarre.
I didn't want my children to be philosophizing about me the same way that I do so often with. Frankly, I found all too much relatability in how the Giving Tree portrays the mother as being happy. But I needed to figure out how to make this dynamic into anything but a never-ending compromise on my part. That would be how I did better than my mother. That would be the small but significant step I would take in transcending from the mother that came before me. That would be how I made sure that I was really, actually happy. Anyways, my mommy issues aren't exactly the point of this video. Let's talk about why these two adults need mother figures so badly. Well, it's actually a pretty old is occupied by trans women to, quote-unquote, adopt young queer folks.
Okay, so let's talk about this right here. First and foremost, the Transy House is kind of a beautiful thing. So the Transy House in 1995 was created by a trans woman, Rusty Mae Moore, and Chelsea Godwin. They founded it on the Park Slope. It was in New York. Originally, it was intended as communal living for their friends. The Transy House became a safe haven for all transgender variant and non-binary people who had been kicked out of their home, had dropped out of school, or refused housing at men's and women's shelters. It housed as many as 13 people at a time and operated until 2008. It's a very, very important staple of the queer community in New York, and it was up until when it closed.
It's a scary world for a young trans person with nobody to help prepare them for the hardships. Just being able to be that for them, it's felt like such an honor. I've, of course, gone out of my way to find a few trans-masc-specific resources for him, Discord servers and all of that, but I've been surprised to learn how many of the lessons of a male-to-female transition apply to the life of a trans man as well. Things like that, and the constant affirmations of consent on their parts are what make it feel okay for my fiancé.
Constant affirmations of consent. They're adults. Consent should be a thing.
And I to take these parental roles so seriously.
God!
Despite the relatively small age gap. It does get a little bit infantilizing at times.
There's a reason why we don't do that.
And that side of it is still a bit uncomfortable for me from time to time, but quite frankly, if somebody has trouble with leaving food out or talking to romantic interests or living peacefully with their family or expressing themselves...
Stop. She mentioned infantilizing.
Yes, I know. She's done it twice now.
And to us, helping them, sitting them down and talking them through it, using motherhood as a framing device, that discomfort really quickly gives way to some of the most beautiful relationships I've ever shipped that I wouldn't trade for the world. Sorry for that little aside. It's just that I know how weird some of this stuff sounds. I know that in the hands of a less responsible pair of parents, this dynamic could be extremely toxic for these two. So I felt the need to justify
What do
this
you
role
mean?
before I move
Less
forward.
responsible parent? This dynamic would be fucking, like, an issue. You mean someone who wants a sexual relationship with them? You mean be in a relationship with them? Come on! The less responsible version of this is being in a fucking dating them!
To some of the nuances of my fiancé and I's parenting techniques and how they've developed.
Parenting
Now is
techniques.
also a good time to mention that both of them have read the script.
What?
And given me
Parenting
their
techniques?
before.
Okay.
26.
Let's talk about this. They have read the script. Leadhead, hey, no big rush at all, but here's a script about parenting. I'd really appreciate if you'd all give it a read sometime and let me know if I have your blessings with the go-ahead. Child number 1. That's beautiful. I teared up a little bit about it. I completely approve. Adult minor number 2
No, you didn't.
made
No,
me
you
tear
didn't.
up a bit. I'm glad you got your adult minor approval.
So, initially, my fiancé and I kind of gravitated to a good cop, bad cop style of parenting. Only, unlike actual cops, we were using the style to keep them feeling both safe and motivated, rather than trying to coerce them into dubiously consensual testimony. I'd be the emotional support for one of them, while she'd be the one pushing them to grow, and calling them out when it seemed like they were stagnating. And she'd be the emotional support for the other, while I pushed them to grow. And we'd switch out who had which duty with which kid every few weeks to not create a situation where the kids were ever
Stop
too anxious
this!
of confrontation with one of us,
They're not kids, they're adults!
too comfortable stagnating with the other. We figured switching it up on them from time to time would be a good way to make sure that they're honest and open with... We stuck with the good cop, bad cop thing, as it had been working well enough so far. There was only one issue, though. What if one of the kids was going through something big that would take a long time to get through? Suddenly, whoever was the bad cop at the time just had to feel like an asshole, having practically daily talks with them for weeks at a time, constantly talking about how they're acting unfairly or being dishonest or something. It got pretty emotionally tiring for both of us. Well, a little bit before the time of the hurricane hit, we sort of started to fall into a more dynamic approach to our parenting. I had been the bad cop for a couple of weeks to one of the kids who was having the most problems at the time, and I just told my fiancé I needed a break.
I don't like this.
I could feel my tact starting to slip with the stress.
You
I was
think
more likely to
bad
approach parental
cop,
situations
good
from a
cop
biased
is just
perspective,
like-
handle them in ways that, while
It's
far from being
another
bad
aspect of
parenting,
the
weren't the
roleplay.
top-tier parenting that our kids deserve for putting so much trust in us. So I took a little break and stopped pushing the kids to improve and stopped calling them out for toxic and immature behavior. And my fiancé took over in those duties for a bit, until she suddenly had an extra load of occupational stress tacked onto her typical work week, and I didn't want her to be stuck with being the bad cop on top of all of that. In a matter of a week or two, we wound up switching from good cop, bad cop to, don't worry, baby, I'll take care of this one. Her and I would use a lot of our alone time to discuss things that we thought needed to be addressed with one of the
Jesus
kids.
Christ!
Like our girls
Stop with the fucking parenting thing. You're not
our
parents.
use of the internet as a dissociation tool, or
You're not
our
parents.
boys
You're not
difficulty calling
actually
out when
parents.
something someone does or says bothers him because he's just
Our
such a people
boy.
pleaser. Then we would just have those talks with the kids whenever the opportunity. So anytime there's something we didn't see coming up, like a sudden panic attack or
Our
bad news
kids.
bringing one of them down, one of us just volunteers to be the one to comfort them, or we both go, or whatever. There's a lot less strategy involved now. But now there's so much much trust built up between the kids and us that it really feels like there's practically no jealousy on either of our parts. And phrases like, you were the one who had to deal with something like this growing up, you should handle this one, are exchanged all the time between the two of us. We never have to worry about one of the kids not being receptive to one of us about a particular topic because my fiance and I shore up each other's weaknesses and gaps in relevant experience. And suddenly it feels like we can handle any situation the kids throw at us so long as we work together. And at the end of the day, it's better for us, and more importantly, it's better for the kids. So, to give an example of how this actualizes, I'm really familiar with how it feels to date somebody who tends to shut people out and seek isolation when they're in a bad mood. So I'm really good at comforting our son when his girlfriend is doing that. However, I'm fortunate enough to have practically zero experience with genital dysphoria outside of yoga pants, and so I'm not super good at being relatable when
Talking about dysphoria and how to walk them through dysphoria when you don't experience it is weird.
The way that she is treating these two, I remind you, these two adults, I feel like if they are just this inept, they would not have survived life like 30 years ago. Not like 30 years ago, not even like hundreds of years, just like fucking 30 years ago. They wouldn't have fucking made it. They would have died somewhere in an alley. It's such a disservice. What's the word? Devaluating?
Yes.
You're devaluing two adults as if to imply that they cannot be trusted to act like adults because you're treating them like children. You're doing more damage to them than helping them.
See, again, I understand just how bad some of this will sound to the cynical viewer, so as I write this, I feel this constant need to explain how we operate as parents, just so that you guys will hopefully know that it isn't taking the form of us just yelling at them until they clean up the house for us. The whole appeal of these relationships...
Also weird. Why do you... That's not the thing people find weird about this!
Is to give two massively neglected people the love that they were so dearly deprived of by their biological families, and to give ourselves that constant assurance that we're a healthy influence on the people we care about. The line between being someone's guiding light in life and being a manipulator is admittedly a thin one.
Oh, you're aware of it. You know it. You know
red
what
line.
you're doing.
You know about the thin
You know what you're doing.
You know exactly where you fall.
But I never, ever let my gaze drift from that line. I've
Sweet
been a
home
manipulator in the
Appalachia.
past, and I know myself and cherish my personal growth too much to ever risk becoming that person again. If I felt
Never
even for a
becoming
moment-
that person again. Interesting.
As if to imply you were at some point that kind of person.
like I was using the trust they place upon me and calling me their mother to my own benefit instead of keeping their best interest in mind, I don't think I could live with myself. There
Why?
were these 3 particular moments, each with my son, that really affirmed for me that this is where I'm supposed to be in life. That being a mother is just part of who
No, not your son! Stop calling them your son!
He
Listen,
taught me a new kind of love I've never felt before. It was one of the reasons that he felt like he could never take his life.
that's an insane statement to say. I get it.
Why would you say?
The friends, okay. I've worked with obviously I've worked with suicidal individuals. One of the things we always do is try to identify the people in their lives that they view as protective factors and all those things like that. It's really important to have a network. You have to live for yourself. These are fucking impromptu therapists.
This 19-year-old boy neglected by his family and rejected by his church-going community. This 19-year-old boy who is easily the most sensitive and one of the most easily hurt people that I've ever met. This 19-year-old boy who spent his whole life feeling so
He's not a boy.
in this world.
He's a
19-year-old boy.
19-year-old man. Man. Not a boy. You are not old enough to fucking pull that card. I could say this is a 19-year-old kid, right? I can say that. I can also say this is a fucking 26-year-old kid. This fucking girl knows nothing.
Me, some random girl who happens to really, really care about him, that I was everything he wished his biological mother had been. And that's how I know that this whole experience has been the next step of my discovery.
That is not for you. That's not for you to try and figure out that man, that adult that you are calling a child needs to go to therapy.
There's 2 stories in this video. One is, me taking my life experiences and using them to try to figure out a way to be a good mother. And the other story in this video is
No, you're not a good mother.
kind of, I
Stop.
guess, a final send-off to what
You're
the story of this whole year is.
You're not even a
I was in
good
the
person
title
at this point.
So
the Honesty Saga series.
this is the Honesty Saga. This is where you'll hear the Honesty Saga come up into play.
I ended up calling it that. This is kind of like, I guess, a stronger look, both these previous videos, this and the Hurricane one, kind of a more focused look on where the character development I've been describing over the course of this year and in the Honesty video has led me.
Why are there fucking lights in her
Not just
car
the
like
trust
that?
It's for dramatic effect.
that my family puts in me, but my relationship with sex in general.
The Honesty Saga of Leadhead's career is about their relationship with sex and the relationship to discovering found family. 2 concepts that really shouldn't be put together for a variety of fucking reasons. Let's watch Honesty. By this video, the kids are not introduced. This video is from 3 months ago. This is before the video we just watched. It's very important that we watched it in this order.
Particular parking spot. A little over a year ago, I had an affair. This
She
might
had
sound
an
like the
affair.
introduction to an
So this is why this video is called Honesty. We gotta
For
get through these
my
videos.
entire life, I was a strong believer in the idea of what they don't know won't hurt them. I was of the opinion that
What they won't know won't hurt them.
I was permanently divided from everyone else, all alone in my head, holding on to my secrets as the sole protector of these ugly, heartbreaking truths about a person that the people in my life cared a lot about. Weirdly enough, before the affair showed me just how dangerous this perspective was, it was something that I took pride in. I was burdening myself with secrets in order to protect the people who cared about me. I was fully intent on carrying that particular secret to the grave. After we called it off, myself and the girl I was secretly involved with, let's call her Ashley, were
Now remember the name Ashley for later. You hear this name Ashley?
Oh,
Remember this for
no!
later.
Oh no, I already made the connection!
deleting messages for hours, discussing all these plans for how we'd keep what we did a secret. We would never speak of this again. Well, one day I broke down. See, the issue with designing my entire life philosophy on the fact that nobody would ever be able to bridge the gap I created between my mind and theirs is that eventually someone does find a way to genuinely connect with you in a way that you didn't think could ever be
So
possible.
you feel connected to
If
someone.
you spend your entire life building a wall around yourself, the idea that
Already sounding sociopathic, but okay.
the fact of the matter was that I was being dishonest to the person I was in love with.
Oh.
The person who, to this day, I cannot even conceptualize a future without. The person who I know I'm going to marry and die with. Her and I were picking up Ashley from work after driving around all day, looking
Huh.
at the different apartments that we'd seen online.
Interesting. Cheated on their partner, picked up Ashley. Very bizarre. Why would you pick up the person that you're having an affair with?
And something hit me. Something happened that had never happened to me before. I thought to myself, I respect this person too much to let her sign another lease with me before she knows the truth, before she knows what I'm capable of.
Okay, so they're living
She was
together.
fully intent on spending her whole life with me, but she had no idea that I could do something like this. Like I said, the affair had already been called off at the time. And both of us were intent on keeping that secret to the grave, but my girlfriend tore down the wall. I cared about her too much to keep up the act. While we were waiting for Ashley to clock out and get in the car, parked in this exact parking spot, as a matter of fact, I told my girlfriend.
Why would you park in the same parking spot where you tell
For
your girlfriend you fucking
emotional
cheated on her?
effect.
Naturally, she broke down. All of her worst fears had been realized. Her girlfriend and one of her best
You
friends had been completely
smoke
Her
disregarding her
Maker.
girlfriend and one of her best friends. Keep in mind who Ashley is.
When Ashley got in the car and found out that I'd let our secret leak, she was furious with me. So I drove the two of them home feeling lonelier than I'd ever felt before and knowing that I deserved that much loneliness and more.
Good. What fucks me up is that it seems like she had both of them in the car with her.
So Ashley is the then mistress as well as the Leadhead's girlfriend's best friend, or one of them.
Yes.
And then also there at this time, roommate.
I did my best to answer all my girlfriend's questions honestly, but I just couldn't. I wasn't a strong enough person to be completely honest with her, and so I kept a lot of details hidden. To be honest, I thought I was
still
finally
not
doing the right
strong
thing,
enough.
but only telling her half of the truth feels like the most selfish thing that I've ever done. She had her
'Cause you
reality
are.
shattered, and
Doing it with the roommate? You fucking be hoeing around in a different fucking area code. No, it's the same area code because it's the same fucking address.
over the next couple of months, it seemed very clear to me that Ashley couldn't keep living with us. My relationship would never be able to heal from this if she was around.
Okay.
And what I now know was a lie, a bid to keep me from hating her. Ashley told me that she didn't regret what we did. Ironically enough, hearing that is what made me hate her. Regret had become the focal point of my existence, but there she was,
That's
telling me in private that she
insane.
didn't regret it. I didn't realize that she was
But we're
lying
not
to me
gonna
until
pause.
much later, and that she did regret it, but that was the final straw. My girlfriend said she would be okay with it if Ashley kept living with us, but she told me it was my choice in the end. I kicked her out, and when my girlfriend and I couldn't find an apartment of our own, and our landlord raised the rent past what two people could afford on our own, we lost the apartment and had to move back in with my parents. That's why I said in the Minecraft video that losing the apartment was, in some small butterfly effect way, my fault.
So we're going to go to that video for a second. This, in a video from a year ago, was discussed this way.
Late-stage millennials like myself who feel like Minecraft has just left them behind, and those of you born just a couple years later who remember Minecraft not as this distant, foggy memory from your childhood, but as this thing that's pretty much always been there. Today, you'll get to see how the other half lives. So, right now, as those who follow my Twitter
Are there any landlords in the theater tonight? I had to cut a whole
No.
section.
or
So,
watch the post
don't admit
updates
that.
on these videos will know,
I will judge
my
you.
girlfriend and I are going through a very adult situation.
A very adult situation.
We just lost our home.
They lost
because
their
our
home.
landlord decided to raise our rent and we couldn't afford the place anymore. As soon as I finished writing this paragraph, I headed over there to do the last little bit of cleaning before...
At this time, they lost the apartment.
Was the other thing that her and I were trying to dissociate away from thinking about. I hated myself. And
So Ashley lives with them at this time, moves out. They can't afford the rent because it's made for 3 people, and they bump it up. And I do want to say this, like, very importantly too. I understand that they probably had troubles finding a place as queer individuals because maybe there were potentially landlords that didn't want them, things like that. But again, she doesn't address this in this video. Very disingenuous to say that, like, it was a problem with the raising rent, and somewhat insinuating in that video that it was a queer issue, that they were not being able to find a different home. Then I cheated on my spouse, or I cheated on my partner.
I felt like I needed to just swallow my pride and say over and over and over again, you have every right to hate me. You'd be in the right to break up with me. I'm sure our friends would be okay with you living with them. All while her leaving me and moving in with those 3, particularly Ashley, was my greatest fear. That was something that I genuinely didn't know if I
Interesting how your greatest fear is your partner leaving you and living with the person that you slept with. Interesting.
would survive or not. But in my mind, I had to say things like that to her for practically months, every single day, because,
Oh,
well, it was true. She would.
yes, I need it, guys. I need to guilt trip myself. That's how we heal. Therapist told me that I need to persecute myself and remind my partner constantly that I cheated on them so they know never to trust me again. Fucking big-brained idea!
I hated the idea of her staying with me just because she had nowhere else to go. Therein lies a way of thinking that I didn't realize at the time
I'll
was
give
the
you
backbone of
bitch made
so
again.
much of what I had done wrong. I disregarded her personal agency. I was convinced that the only reason she would ever decide to stay with me was because I must have manipulated her in some way without realizing it. I felt bad for her because she was in love
Manipulator, 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 manipulator. Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. Said the phrase, said
He
the
is a
phrase. It was the key word.
Bad person.
with me, a
Wee
duplicitous
woo, wee
whore.
woo.
In fact, it was a similar removal of agency that kind of led to the affair in the first place. Part of the way that my girlfriend's brain works is that she has these really huge...
Guys.
guys.
What if I told you Leadhead is now going to explain why the now fiance was the reason that she cheated? Oh, no.
Where she's incredibly depressed or incredibly optimistic. She would tell you as much herself. She was in one of her longest downswings since I've known her when the affair started, and let me tell you what was going through my head at the time. Every day she's
He
just
was
so
depressed
down
though,
and depressed,
so
no
I
matter how
needed to
hard I tried, I couldn't
find
get her out.
another woman.
I started to
God
feel
damn
like our
it.
relationship was hopeless. Like, no matter how much I loved her, it was nothing that I said mattered anymore. And that's why I say that I never stopped loving her even during the affair. All I wanted was to feel like I could fix her depression, but
Yeah.
it felt like nothing I did would ever be able to do
It
that.
strikes me
Not
as
for the
like,
fact that
oh,
having genuine respect for someone's
No,
agency
never
was
mind.
such a foreign concept to me back then.
Having genuine respect for someone's agency was foreign to me back then. Now, I understand that they are young. This was a young person. This happened approximately when they were 24-ish, 25, because this video...
And then Ashley comes along and she's hanging on my every word. The things I do had a huge impact on how Ashley felt. And so after I'd practically given up on improving my girlfriend's mood, I started to take comfort in the person who I felt like I could have an impact on. And one thing led to another. There were, of course, other factors,
for it.
like my problematic libido and my...
Huh!
what do you mean by that?
We mean problematic.
Like,
Huh.
do you mean problematic as in you don't
Like
have
Dan's
any
verse
libido?
problematic?
Or do you have problematic as in I can't stop fucking libido? Like, which is it?
Feeling like nothing I did could fix the issues we were having was one of the roots of the whole thing. At least, that's how I felt at the time. Just as I felt she was a victim of her love for me,
Your girlfriend at the time is a victim,
Why?
but she's a victim of something else. You nummy.
It's like, why are you describing your partner as a victim?
it was stupid and even controlling of me to feel like, as her girlfriend, it's my job to cure her depression. Like, anytime she's in a bad mood, it's my job to fix
Fair.
it. I can be there for her, but I can't control her emotions, and I shouldn't try to. That is controlling and manipulative.
100%.
Well, at the time, I thought that trying to control her emotions and talk her out of being depressed was more important than just being there for her. On one particularly bad
Same to
night,
you,
I
fine,
went
no
to talk
worries.
to an adult who's always been a super prominent figure in my life, and I told him about everything. That night, and I may have misunderstood him, but that night
So I may have misunderstood him. Why would you include this in the entire script? What they're about to say is kind of insane.
he seemed to imply that he had cheated on his wife back when I was a kid. Instantly, I could pinpoint when this must have happened.
She spoke with somebody, a male figure in her life that she respects, assumed that they cheated on their spouse, and this is why their marriage is fucky-wucky.
The reason that I bring it up is because I have always considered the wife in that marriage to be a very repressed woman and the husband to be a very pussy-whipped man. No matter how unreasonable she was being, he would
all
always
assumption.
defend her. No matter how hard he tries to do these great big gestures for their anniversaries or for Valentine's Day or whatever, she would always be passive-aggressive about it.
Sometimes people can't be bitches or bastards. Cheating must have happened. That's my self-persecutory thing.
I never understood what the problem was. Maybe she was just the
manipulative as shit. This language is so manipulative.
worst. To be honest, that was always my assumption of her, but learning that he had an affair, suddenly it all made sense. One thing was clear. These two never really talked about it. The truth got out, and I guess they just did their best to bury it, probably for the sake of their kids. And to this day, 18 years later, it's never been resolved, and you can see that pain in every single interaction that they have.
How do you know that? That's a lot of assumption for a thing that you don't know if it's true or not.
Ashley was really conflicted. On one hand, she was dead set on keeping the rest of our secrets. After
Ashley's
all,
back.
she'd get in trouble for it too. But on the other hand,
no.
she really hated lying to my girlfriend, and she was really hurt by me cutting her out of my life.
Hey, Ashley, how
and
you
just
doing?
Furious with me to boot. Whatever it was that pushed her over the edge, one night she broke down and told my girlfriend the rest of the truth. Even though the whole truth was out there now, and I was relieved to know that I didn't have to keep any secrets from her anymore, if we didn't have an open conversation about how and why all of these things happened, we would end up just like that old dysfunctional couple that I was so afraid of becoming.
I see.
So
No, she
trying
would
to
have
things better, I
left
wound up
you.
creating a whole
She just
document.
would have left
I laid out the
you.
exact timeline of everything that happened. I told her exactly why everything happened, at least to the best of my ability.
I
and
see.
what was going through my head at the time. We laid it all out, and when there was a memory I was fuzzy on or didn't remember the exact timeline of things, we consulted Ashley's diary that she had given my girlfriend, which
What? What?
Excuse me?
Ashley, former
That's-
best friend, roommate, maybe one of the kids, one of the adult minors, had a fucking diary which chronicled their sexual encounters.
Okay. I'm going back to my
That's
my
psychotic.
my
That's so
conspiracy
psychotic.
theory that she's using them for her YouTube content because
Uh-huh.
why the fuck would you do that?
Why
Did she
would you
ask
do
her
that?
To keep a chronicle of it
Apparently,
so she can use
yeah.
it?
Apparently, Ashley gave this willingly. Guys, this is a content house on fucking crack.
detailed every encounter between the two of us. Yeah, I threw up a couple times as we discussed all of this, but we got it all out there. Over the next few weeks, I slowly stopped feeling like I was playing a survival horror game. It didn't feel like I was disarming a bomb every single time I interacted with her. If I remembered a new detail, I just told her. If I felt like something she said was unfair and I should defend
Oh no, my
David
brain. I remember cheating. I'm gonna tell you that I cheated. Don't you remember when I cheated? I'm gonna tell you. Couples counseling is dead. Never again. Never go to couples counseling ever. Content.
myself,
Great
I told
job,
her.
you're in your 20s.
Even the fear in the back of my mind that sex with multiple partners was just a part of who I was.
Sex with multiple partners is part of who you are.
You're polyamorous?
To that honesty as hard as I could, it actually took a lot of the pressure off of me. Yeah, the truth sucks ass, but it's the truth. Once I quit trying to circumvent it or dress it
Remember, they just have a extremely high libido. That nasty libido. God damn you, libido. I can't believe you did that to me.
None of this is to say that I instantly fixed everything in my behavior. Learning to go from what they don't know won't hurt them to I need to communicate every little thought I have because that's what it means to truly connect with someone was a bumpy ass road for me. There would be plenty of times I was sad about something or even wanted her to make another accommodation for me, and it felt like there's no way I can say
Accommodate
no to her.
me,
And forcing
please.
myself
It's
to say
all
it
about
anyways
me,
was as painful as pulling
me.
teeth at first. It was so painful, in fact, that around New Year's I wrote a proper suicide note for the first and only time so far addressed to Ashley. And then I wrote a parallel life note addressed to my girlfriend.
One was addressed to Ashley. The
Oh my
suicide note
God.
is addressed to
Parallel life
Ashley.
note.
The life note is addressed to the wife.
What the fuck's a life note?
I'm happy to say that the life note is the only one that ever reached its recipient.
I'm happy that the life note was the
What?
only one that reached its recipient.
She's guilting her fucking fiance?
No.
That's what I mean.
She's
That's what I fucking mean.
Yes, she's manipulating the fiance with the fucking life note. And had that happened, she would have made sure that the person that she chose to cheat with, now she chose to do that, would have felt bad about their death. This is manipulation.
Like I said, it was a really bumpy road, but I was committed to becoming this new type of
Bumpy
person.
road. It's not
There was
already
one question
weird.
that neither of us really had an answer to at the time. Several of the times that Ashley and I had hooked up, I was thinking to myself, God, I don't want this. But I couldn't stop myself. This is where the whole, I know you're puppy brained, but
don't
you still
want
know right
this,
from
what am
wrong
I
thing
doing? Anyways.
Okay. Weird that she mentioned puppy brain.
came into play. I mentioned it in my Puppy Girl Psychoanalysis video. See, there's this need for affirmation that I've always used my sexual submissiveness to attain. That's initially why I got into doing sex work online. Discussing
Or she'd be a sub.
She has an OnlyFans account. She has an NSFW Twitter.
The affair and other situations from before me and her even knew each other, it was really clear that I had a super tough time saying no to people that I cared about. The question that neither of us could really answer was, why do I put myself in situations where I have to say no in the first place? Well,
Why do I have to put myself in situations where I have to say no in the first place? What an interesting phrase to say about cheating on your fucking partner.
The simple fact is that I've got an incredibly hyperactive libido.
I have an incredibly hyperactive libido.
I really like flirting people. I really like flirting
So I
with people.
was
I
right.
really like having sex with
So I
people.
was right then.
And the fact that I so desperately seek affirmation through my sexuality and my obedience was the dog bone shaped bridge that connected the flirting.
The dog bone shaped
Dog bone
bridge.
shaped bridge. Fuck off.
You guys notice what necklace she's wearing? I wonder.
Is it a dog tag?
It's a dog tag.
Oh, it's a little bone. Oh.
It's a little bone.
I
wonder if the pet play is a theme in her normal life.
I can't really describe it, but the end feels like a faded memory of all my childhood Minecraft homes. It's like how I remember my parents' home, which I'm now living in again, for the time being at least.
Why was she living in the parents' home?
Yes. Living here as a child felt magical to me. I had plenty of woods to explore and forts to build and fun to have.
She's living in the parents' home, but why? Because she cheated, and they lost the roommate.
As my girlfriend puts it, sex is one of the main things that I take comfort in, and as I put it, sex is how I affirm that the people in my life actually like me. It isn't always...
That is a terrible... Okay, as a person that has had sex with other partners, that is a terrible way to look at sex. You need to go to therapy, touch grass. How do you think they reacted to, oh, sex is how I affirm people give a shit about me? I wonder what they decided to do with that.
It's healthy for my self-esteem, but sex is a core part of who I am. Well, earlier I said...
Oh, no. Sex is a core part of who she is. Because she needs to sleep with everybody to make sure she feels fucking good about herself.
Something about how one of the hardest parts of this whole open and honest communication thing was when I had to tell her that there was another accommodation that I wanted.
I wonder what accommodation Leadhead wants. I wonder what accommodation Leadhead needs.
Well, in no discussion we've ever had was that difficulty made clearer than when I brought forward the idea of us having an open relationship. I had always thought of it as nothing but a compromise that she would be making for me, but later it became clear to me that this was something that she had been interested in trying out too.
And here comes the fun little band-aid. Hey, what if, because I cheated, and I'm hypersexual, and I have clearly poor boundaries and issues with sex, why don't we just open our relationship? I'm the open person here. This is not what you do. This is not how relationships work. This is actively the thing that harms relationships.
I actually brought up the idea beforehand, but I shrugged it off every time because it felt like it would just be this massive compromise on her end, and she would never actually be happy with it. More of me removing her agency. This time, though, we had a great, big, honest, and open discussion about it. I've spent my entire life surrounded by casual sex. It's just the lifestyle that I grew up in. From when I was like 15 onward, it was just a simple fact that sometimes you hook up with your friends, and that's just how friendships are.
Guys, people explore themselves. I'm not going to fucking litigate that. It happens. But what are you doing? What the fuck are you? Why? Stop talking. Stop fucking talking. Stop talking. Stop telling on yourself. It's really fucking weird.
Okay, my food's here. I'll be right back.
Stop telling on yourself that you have fucking sexual trauma that you have not resolved, and you turned it into a fucking narcissistic way of looking at the world.
She asked if she could have the first hookup outside of our relationship, and let's be honest, that's only fair, and I thought so at the time too. As I wrote all of this down, it felt like there was supposed to be this thunderclap sound effect in the background, but, well, no. I think open relationships can be incredibly toxic, but goddammit, if you're as good at communication as
I think open relationships can be incredibly toxic. So your view on open relationships was already negative, but you wanted it because you wanted to keep your high libido sated.
I've been so incredibly afraid of my libido. I was convinced that it would just be this shadow hanging over me for my entire life that was going to get in the way of every relationship I'd ever have. That night, when we first discussed opening up the relationship, it was the first time that I ever felt like I could live comfortably with my libido. If it's fully disclosed, open, and honest, I don't need to be afraid of my temptations, and I don't even need to be afraid of acting on them.
This is an insane thing. This is insane to say. I don't need to be afraid of my libido because it's fine now.
Those temptations, so long as I do it the right way. So long as I let my girlfriend set the pace and the boundaries, I don't need to be afraid of hurting her anymore, and I don't need to feel horrible about myself every time I think that one of my friends is super hot. I was able to express this part of myself that I spent my entire adult life trying and failing to repress. As I said earlier, sex is a big part of my identity. Well, Now it was a part of my identity that I didn't need to hide away anymore.
So, according to Leadhead, this is what Leadhead is saying: motherhood's a part of me, cheating's a part of me. Leadhead says that being a puppy girl is a part of her. I don't know what to tell you guys. There's a lot of parts we didn't need to know.
I think that the moment when we opened up our relationship was a really cool little milestone in how far we gotten and how much her trust in me and her comfort around sex in general had healed after months of just open and clear communication and honesty.
They healed the sex trauma through just talking. This is not healthy. This is not normal.
Honesty. Let's move on, though, with the clarification that my girlfriend has looked over every part of the script and knows that if she disagrees with or has a problem with anything I say here, she can tell me and I'll fix it. Hell, at this point, she has practically co-written this video with me, serving as both an artistic and a factual guide.
That's insane to say.
And as long as I'm speaking candidly, I want to put it out there that nobody has forced me to make this video. This is a video that I've wanted
I wish someone forced you to put it away.
to make for a really long time, and I've asked everyone involved over and over again if they're okay with me telling the story. I haven't gotten a single no or even a meh. So my girlfriend clearly wasn't the only
highly doubt that.
I wonder if all the people involved are involved in specific ways.
person who was affected by what I did. Ashley hated herself just as much as I did, and she hated me just as much as I did her after everything went down.
Okay.
Then you've got the girl she moved in with after I kicked her out. Let's call her Lily. These two people used to be super close to me, some of my best friends. Now they were just super close to my girlfriend, but they hated me, and understandably so. My girlfriend would go over to hang out with them and drink at their apartment once a week, and every single time, they were just manifesting all of my fears, spending hours and hours and hours trying to convince her to leave me.
Okay.
Ironically, they were disregarding her agency and her decision.
No, they were telling her it was a bad idea to be with you because you wanted an open relationship after you cheated, and she's hanging out with the girl that you cheated on. Oh, now it gets worse.
Decision to stay with me in just the same way that I had done before. All the while, she's just defending me to the ends of the earth to these people. Not telling them that what I did wasn't that bad or anything, but conveying to them how hard I was trying to change and saying that it wasn't fair for them to hold it over my head when she, the affected party, wasn't holding it over my head.
That's not how that works. They cannot forgive her. They cannot forgive her for what you did to her. Also, Ashley can also do whatever. She was involved.
My head. I was an anxious mess every time she'd go over there, but in truth, every time she went over, she was just building Ashley and Lily up to the point where they'd be willing to try talking to me again. First, it was Lily. After a couple months, her and I wound up meeting again and talking about her feelings about what had happened.
Again, just want to point out, this video is 3 months ago. This will be important for what's about to happen.
And we reached a touchy, tenuous friendship. Then, amazingly, because my girlfriend is just amazing, I managed to do the same thing with Ashley. This girl who completely hated me for everything, just as much as I had hated her, managed to talk it all out and become friends again. Now, the four of us live together. And along with the fifth one who recently moved in with us. These friendships were the reason that we were able to afford a new home to rent out. There are 5 people in this home. So a 5th person now lives with them. So this either affirms, either Ashley is one of the people that she's considered her kids, or they invited people into the home to be a weird fuck home, or a place where they could openly be with people that they've recently had sex with. Let's say Ashley is anybody in this relationship. We don't know who they are. And we also know you two have people in your proximity area, and you thought that the person who is now your son was going to be a sexual partner. Chat, do you pick up what we're putting down? Does any of this sound kosher to you? Does any of this sound normal? Does any of this sound not insane? Ashley had, of course, been working just as hard as I was on becoming a better person. After all, she was part of the affair, too. My girlfriend gave her the same deal she gave me. If you commit to being a better person, I'll have faith in you. It's a deal I've actually stolen and extended to someone else in the friend group since then because I was just so inspired by how accepting she was. What's funny is that now I, who was once the most secretive person, have kind of become the morality police for the whole household.
Guys, remember, this video is titled Honesty. She's now the moral police in the household.
My girlfriend and I are the ones who have been pushing everyone so hard to be upfront about everything they're feeling. I'm the one who's always saying, I know I'm the casual sex person, but you guys really shouldn't be having casual sex while you still don't know how each other feel about it. She's the one saying you have to tell them how you feel. I'm the one saying that these people need to tell their secrets to each other, even when they...
So, here's the other thing, too. It kind of sounds like they're all having sex in the fucking house!
They know that it'll hurt them. The two of us are always, almost every single day, having big talks with these people about how we're not going to keep their secrets for them, and how they should just be telling the other person what's up.
Are they facilitating their kids having sex with each other? They're adult minors? Is it incest?
It's an incest fetish?
I don't even know.
A lot of you would say that I don't deserve this. maybe you're right. God knows I feel like just the luckiest person in the world. And this is what I was talking about in
You don't
Love,
deserve
the video essay.
anything.
Don't deserve
Love
it.
is about knowing that there are things wrong with you and turning those negative feelings into positive ones by working on your problems together. And besides, love isn't about deserving things. You don't earn another person's love. She loves me, and that's her choice, and I've got to live up to it. Maybe all of this pushing people to be honest stuff looks hypocritical of me, but goddammit, I'd rather be a hypocrite than be wrong. And all of this hypocrisy is the reason that these people, this new family of mine, have come to trust me so deeply. Just as I experienced, the proposal of totally open communication has made us both feel so much more secure in the
Guys,
relationship.
it's so open.
I gotta
this-
go pick her up.
this
But
relationship,
speaking of proposals,
so open,
One thing that I
nothing
absolutely
wrong.
cannot relate to anymore is the old cliche of somebody deciding that they want to marry somebody and then keeping that a secret
All of this is how she proposed.
for multiple months while they save up for a ring and plan out the perfect way to propose to them. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand being able to keep something that huge from somebody. The 5 of us were sitting on the porch. They were all drinking, but I was sober as always when I looked up at my girlfriend
5 of them on the porch.
and realized I'm ready for this. The communication and trust between us was all I really needed in order to know that we weren't going to end up like that old couple I talked about earlier. I didn't have a ring or a big fancy plan, but I proposed to her, and she said yes.
Oh.
We'll be getting married in a few months. This woman who taught me to be honest and taught me that what they don't know can still hurt them, and taught me that there's a doorway in my wall, an opening in my Leadhead, is my fiance now. And it all stemmed from yet another little feeling that I couldn't keep secret for more than a little bit, more than 10 seconds. And you know what? After watching through this whole series,
Yeah. Remember, the honesty series.
you might all say that I have a really strange way of expressing myself, but goddammit, I express myself.
Want to just point out and say this again. This is allegedly a safe for work channel. There's like stuff that from what I understand, there's like nothing non-safe for work here that we have seen at this time.
I'm 16. What does my bio?
Amy,
still say 15?
Amy is 15. She had plenty of free time to learn. I'm 16. Does my bio still say 15? Amy says, which is still good.
Still good.
No, it says 16. This is this year.
This was about
This was 1/6/2025.
about a week ago. About a week ago. Yeah, about a week ago.
Don't have underage people in your discords. You can't police this. Stop doing this. Stop doing that. I will take the Timmy thing of saying, oh no, and maybe age play. I don't fucking care. You don't put underage people in a Discord, especially if the person running the Discord has a fucking OnlyFans. Like, how many times do I gotta fucking say this? Like, I'm so fucking done. Like, legitimately, this is fucking concerning. And you're not policing this. These people have roles. And Leadhead, if your fucking people are watching this, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Why do you have minors in your fucking Discord? You have an OnlyFans account. You can't police who fucking sees your OnlyFans account. It's not a locked account. Literally. What the fuck is wrong with you? The adult minor shit? All the oh my god, I adopted a fucking 19-year-old and a 20-year-old? Are you fucking insane? How are they in here? If this is to be believed, how are they in here? What? Listen, I always say this. Why would you lie about your age? Lying about your age is fucking insane. I have to say, if this is specifically people not lying about their age, I have to say it. But again, why would you run the risk? Because they're openly doing this in your chat for over a week. You have moderators? Do your moderators look at this? You're a channel of 340k subscribers. You probably do have kids. Why would you do that? You don't have any way to police that shit. Why do you have people in your Discord? And listen, Leadhead did not lie about their age. There are instances of people mentioning their age inside of that chat that say they are potentially as young as 15. My question to you, why would you do that? Why would you allow that to happen? I say this all the time. If I find out that you are a minor in here, you are insta-banned. If somebody jokes about being a minor, you are fucking insta-banned. I don't care. You guys want to see the fucking... This is the big brain fucking idea on Leadhead? Here, we'll do something for a second. Let's go to Twitter for a second, right? I'm sure Leadhead has probably already fucking blocked me or shit, right? No, you haven't. You probably fucking should.
At this point, you should block us.
Hey,
You should
what the
really block
fuck is
us
right
this
there?
point.
That's in their Twitter bio. This is ridiculous. This is fucking ridiculous.
I'm about to
Again.
go exploring. I'm about to go
Again.
exploring.
Rampant speculation. Why is this in your fucking reminder? I'm 16. Why is this happening? Why is this there? Thank you guys so much for coming out. You guys are based, Poggies. We will see you guys later. Goodbye, y'all.
Take it easy, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.